This episode is about the entrepreneur's weight and tension that a lot of us carry when we're in the thing, when we're doing it, when we're building something real, and we're finding those successes on paper, but are all of a sudden surprised with how heavy it actually feels. Now, we all knew what we were signing up for. We all know that being an entrepreneur, you take risks, it comes with stresses. It's going to feel heavy at times, but when it shows up, sometimes it's just way, way heavier than we could have ever expected. This quote has got me thinking about this topic a lot lately, and it's from Socrates. Beware the barrenness of a busy life. Before we get into it, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Thom Brow. I'm a father, a husband, a entrepreneur. I'm building my business, brokering mortgages in Ontario, Canada. And this podcast is made to share my life stories and lessons that I'm learning along the way in real time. This isn't a podcast about hyping up a business startup or the glamorous $1 million exits. It's literally my life stories and lessons that I'm learning in real time as I navigate the messy middle of entrepreneurship. So if you're building something meaningful and real, and this sounds like you, join along so we can do this thing together. Now, this quote is almost like Socrates' warning to all entrepreneurs for decades to come, and kind of being like, be aware of being busy. And I think there's a big distinction between being busy and being productive. Now, I have to remind myself all the time that I get caught up being busy. And it's one of these things that I do, and I think that us as humans default to doing when we need distractions. And sometimes that comes in the form of busy work. Other times for me, it comes in the form of distraction. Not being present when I'm, leaving my desk after work. I find myself just defaulting to picking up my phone and scrolling because that's busy and there might be something to check in my inbox or something like that. And when I have, things to tackle that I know are going to be painful to tackle, whether that's business or other in other areas, I tend to do the busy stuff first because that's easy. It's the path of least resistance. And us as human beings, we're naturally going to sway towards the path of least resistance, right? And sometimes that's not what we should be doing. The growth and momentum in business and outside of it typically happens when you are tackling something bigger, when you're tackling something that you know is going to be a pain in the ass. And kind of goes with that. I think it's Marcus Aurelius said, the object is the way. And it's literally whatever's in your way should be the direction that you should be heading. Going full on at it, solving that problem, finding that solution, maybe putting yourself out of your comfort zone, doing some sales calls or the things that you don't really want to are eager to go do. Because it's one of these things that are going to cause us a little bit of discomfort and pain throughout our day. Now, growth usually happens in these instances when you are tackling those objectives and things that, are in our way. They're called growing pains for a reason, right? Growth happens, and it sometimes takes a little bit of pain to get there. But typically, if you are charging at that object that's in your way, the growth and the momentum is going to be on the other side of that. And sometimes that busy work is just something to distract us from, that pain and our way of, making ourselves still feel accomplished, a little pat on the back. Thanks for showing up. Good job. I did show up today, and kind of like a self-affirmation that, you're okay, you're doing things. And if it's not happening, then it means, It's not because of you, because you're busy, you're doing stuff. But deep down, we know sometimes that busy work is the distraction. It's just making me think of this, like, work life balance thing. We hear it all the time, and quite frankly, it drives me nuts. It's a bunch of BS, right? For us as entrepreneurs, our work is our life, and that's okay. It's okay to say that. It's okay to have that ethos, because your work is a part of your life. When you're building your own business, you're putting your efforts into building that life that you truly do want to live in the form of your business as well, and a business that you truly love. And I do. I love my business. I love what I do. I love to show up every day and build and create content and help clients, particularly achieve their real estate goals, dreams, or find their solution in the form of mortgages and lending. And that's, my specialty, and what I'm brought to here to do. And I truly believe it is to help people. And that's what I get to do every day. So I truly do love that part. It really comes down to just finding that balance in all areas of your life. It's not a work-life balance for us entrepreneurs. It's just life balance. It's balancing all the moving parts in your life and all the things that matter to you. For me, I have to remind myself daily on what all of those pieces of my life are and why they mean a lot to me. It comes in the form of just looking at my day and making sure that I'm not too counterbalanced one way or the other in one area. Now, the majority of my day looks like business. That's typically what I do for most of my day. But I do remind myself to take the time to, show up at the breakfast table, to have breakfast with my daughter and my wife, send them out the door, say bye for the day, be present in those times, to not get too distracted. And, I'm not saying that I do this 100% every time. I fail at it more than I succeed at it, because I'm constantly thinking about what I need to accomplish and what I need to do. But being aware of that and trying to improve a little bit all the time, be present when I can, and just knowing that that area needs some attention is going to be more than just neglecting it and not thinking about it. You hear too much in life of these, successful business people that have achieved more than like most of our wildest dreams, but then they have a health implication and it all kind of comes crumbling down. Like, what's your wealth without your health? Nothing really, right? So balancing everything in your life, it's never going to be a perfect balance, but being aware of it and constantly making adjustments to find that balance, you're going to be ahead of a lot of people that, tend to neglect areas when they're so deep in the trenches on one specific thing. Now, for me, my scale might look a bit different than yours. And I'm constantly moving, pieces where I'm allocating my attention and time. And, that changes day to day, week to week. And I'm always slightly making adjustments, but that's, half the fun of it, right? That's life. We always need something to do. What if that scale was just flatlining? It's like, that's boring. It's just, it's found its balance. Great. What do we do now? Then we have no purpose. And it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to, go find a new scale, I guess. Like, what am I doing here? But also, on the other hand, you don't want to, go full in on one area of your life and have that scale just, boom, right on the ground on the one side and up in the air on the other. It's not why we're here. We are trying to build our life that we love living both in and out of our businesses. And so every once in a while, I do need to ask myself, am I building momentum or am I just staying busy? And momentum to me means growing. Am I growing? Am I building still? Or am I just, maintaining and just existing? For me, I'm always trying to make my business 1% better than the day before. And that usually comes in the form of doing things that work on my business, creating content, like picking up the phone and doing my sales calls, like email marketing, all the things that we do to put ourselves out there and put signal out into the world instead of just dealing with the noise. Typically, busy work comes in the form of dealing with noise. And, eventually you deal with so much of it that you do need to delegate it at some point so you can continue to grow and grow and grow and put your signal out there to make sure that your business is continuing its momentum forward. I think there'll be a whole other episode on delegation and the art of that. I could probably talk about that for another hour, but for this specific topic, you know, that busy work does need to get done. Don't neglect it. The busy work is important to a certain extent where you do need to accomplish certain things within your business. For me, that looks like, a lot of underwriting and chasing documents and submitting to lenders and, accomplishing the back end paper pushing. And what I truly do love is just connecting with people in the initial stages to come up with the strategy, coming up with the plan, talking to my referral partners, building my content, putting it out there, putting myself out there. These are the things that, I find passion with and I enjoy doing. On the other side, it's what am I sacrificing that I don't want to lose? And when I'm too full in on, my business, I got to remind myself, hey, you're sacrificing other things that you don't want to lose. I need to remind myself, hey, you want to maintain all of the things in your life at a healthy balance to make sure that your attention is there when you're having your family time, to make sure that I'm present, make sure I'm not, picking up my phone. Also to, carve out that time for your health, to get to the gym. Sometimes that comes in the form of waking up earlier before everybody's up so I can get out to the gym, or, getting up from my desk when I'm in the middle of something that I truly don't want to walk away from, but just going on that hour walk at lunchtime, something like that, just to make sure that you're not neglecting or sacrificing things fully to the point of losing them. We do need to make sure that we are aware of it, that we are giving a little bit of ourselves and our attention and our time to all those other parts of our life, not just, what we are passionate about at that point in time, because we need to sustain all of this together to make sure that we do have the life that we love living while we're building the business that we truly do love as well. So this podcast is going to be steeped in many more conversations just like this. It's going to be my real lessons and life stories that I'm picking up along the way in this messy middle part of entrepreneurship. So if you're building something meaningful too, and you don't want to do it alone, join me here on the Art of Business podcast. I just want to say thanks for joining me for this first episode, and I'm looking forward to many more with you. Peace.